misty mountain, wildflowers bind the ground.
Welcome to the Pride Perspectives radio show. We are here every other Sunday from 5 to 6. Find all our recordings and updates on the Santa Cruz Pride website, santacruzpride.org, and on the K-Squid website as well. My name is Rob Darrow. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Happy to be here, and I'm here with Cece, and we'll introduce our guest in a minute. Cece, how's it going?
Good. Thanks, Rob. It's good to be here. And I'm Cece Pinero. I'm Rob's co-host, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And our show is guided by the following beliefs. We believe that Santa Cruz County is thriving partly because of the contributions of LGBTQ plus people, and LGBTQ plus people in Santa Cruz County are thriving because of the broader Santa Cruz County. We believe in the words of Jewish poet Emma Lazarus that none of us are free until all of us are free.
On this show, you will hear us refer to queer history and LGBTQ plus history. For us, these terms are interchangeable and refer to people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, anywhere on the gender identity spectrum, and whoever they are attracted to. All are welcome to be a part of this radio show. So the title of our show today is Religion and LGBTQ plus People. This is the second of 3 shows we're doing. Our last show featured Simon Dinglassen from Calvary Episcopal Church and Dave Petit from Peace United Church. Cece, what do you think of that show? What do you remember of it?
I love that show. And what jumped out to me is learning that I think Peace United used to be called the First Congregational Church, and they are Congregationalists, and that the Congregationalists had the first openly gay minister that was...
Oh, in Santa Cruz County.
Well, I think anywhere. Yeah. I think they were...
Anywhere?
I think they were the first, yeah.
Oh.
I guess of organized mainstream religions, there was, what was it called? Now I can't remember the name
Metropolitan
of it.
Community College Church. Right.
Yes, there was a Metropolitan.
Yeah. In Santa Cruz for a while.
Yeah.
I knew about them, but I didn't know about being gay or lesbian
I don't know, but
ministers.
see how it's good how Rob read my mind? All I had to say was, and then he Metropolitan.
Yep.
And then Simon, being the rector, we learned about rectors and ministers and the different categories of religious leaders and how they are classified and what their jobs are, and I just am always taken aback at how great that little red church is downtown and how they have served really the homeless more than any of the other ones in my experience of what I've watched and seen, and I remember that they were really instrumental because they let me, when I was running for city council in 2012, they let me go in there and try and register homeless people to vote. I'm like, you go.
Wow. Well, you got great memories of that church.
Well, yeah. And then, of course, I probably shouldn't say it, but, I did get married in the First Congregational Church, but then I also got divorced. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You said you're going to get married there next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I said I'm going to have to get married at a different one.
No,
yeah. At Simon's. I go, Simon, I don't want to leave you out. Next time I'll get married over there. But now today's show, I might change my mind.
Oh, well, yeah, you never know. That's
the
fun part of all the guests we have.
The guests we have.
Which we'll get to in a minute. The other thing I wanted to share with you, Cece, is that the recordings of that show and our previous show, I finally figured out how to put all those together, and they're on the K-Squid website now, and you can find them on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and on YouTube as well. I didn't know how these pieces all flow out, but now I do. Sometimes it takes people a while to learn these things, but I was excited to get those 2 shows up, and this show we're doing tonight will get up, and I'm now in the habit of how to do that. So that's a good part. I was listening to those podcasts on my way over, especially the end part where we asked them if there was any final words they had, and Simon first said, what did he say? He said, faith belongs to everybody. Don't ever forget that everybody has faith and everybody is welcome. And then Dave just ended with, he says, God is love. And that's what's important. So don't ever forget that. Anybody who's out there listening, if you've ever been put down or had bad experiences with church, know that across Santa Cruz County, we have churches that where you are welcome.
Yeah,
and
temples,
we are all welcome
and mosques,
all those
and
places.
synagogues, and shuls, and Buddhist temples, and we're really lucky to have so many different choices here.
Yeah. So on our show tonight, we have two other church leaders. Do you want to talk about those, Cece, and introduce our guest?
Sure. So today we're pleased to have two local leaders from local spiritual communities with us. First, we'll talk with Rabbi Eli Cohen. Rabbi Eli serves as spiritual leader of Kaddish Yameinu, the Jewish renewal community in Santa Cruz. And we also have Reverend Deborah Johnson, who's the founder of Inner Light Ministries and an omni-faith spiritual community in Santa Cruz, and is the founder and the former of the Motivational Institute, an organization development consulting firm specializing in cross-cultural relations. So first we're going to start off with Rabbi Eli, who's here in our studio with us in person. And welcome, Rabbi Eli. Thanks so much for being here. And we'll start off, I think
Yeah,
I'm
why
going to
don't
have
you start
Rob.
by introducing yourself?
Yeah.
Hi.
Who are you? How long have you been in Santa Cruz?
My name is Eli, Rabbi Eli Cohen. I serve Kaddish Yameinu, as you mentioned. I've been here since just before the earthquake of '89. That was an interesting introduction here. And
You arrived with an earthquake.
I arrived with a bang. And so I've been here ever since. And I was previously a public defender in town, but I've been a rabbi for a couple of decades now. And I had gone to school, law school, actually in San Francisco. And I found myself every weekend either going up to like Point Reyes, West Marin, or down here to Santa Cruz. And then it occurred to me, why not live where I want to be? I can always visit the city. And so I was very grateful to find a job down here, and it brought me here back then.
And so what was your path that brought you here? Or maybe you could start by sharing a little bit about your past, where you grew up, how you ended up coming to this coast. We always ask everybody a little bit about their coming out story, so how that all blends in.
Sure, you got a few hours?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how we stretch 1 hour in the show to 3 hours of
Yes.
content.
That's great. I was born and grew up in Albany, New York, or as we like to say, Smallbany. It was actually a nice town, a medium-sized town. Went to school in SUNY Binghamton, where I came out. I actually knew I was gay when I was 10 years old because on a local radio show, somebody was interviewing a lesbian and she was talking about being gay.
In Albany?
In Albany. And I heard this. I was 10. And I go, OMG. I didn't use those words back then. That's c'est moi. Yeah, that's me. And but I can't say it was helpful because I spent 10 years fighting that awareness, that self-awareness, that knowledge. I did come out to my first friend when I was 16, but still another 4 years before I would truly come out, which was at college. I had just checked out the local gay organization on campus, and I was starting to connect, and I had my first heartful sexual experience the night before my 20th birthday. And I spent the whole next day a wreck going to psych services, and I walked in there, and the therapist received me in his office. And he said something that perhaps we might consider very trite, but was very impactful to me. He said, we're all products of different experiences. And so that was really helpful to me. But I decided to delay going to any graduate school. I didn't know yet what I wanted to do, and decided to come to California. I had friends here, and so wended my way to the Bay Area and then eventually to San Francisco.
And growing up you obviously were in school as a gay kid. What was it like in school, and what was it like coming out to your family?
Yeah, it was hard in school, especially back then. Anyone of our generation knows that. It still is hard, but it was very hard back then. And so I was completely closeted in high school. But when I came out at 20 to my family, my sister was completely open and loving and accepting. On the other hand, my brother was horrible, and it took him a long, long time. My mother, she pretended like she was calm and collected, the veins pulsing in her neck. She's freaking out. And she did. I think she had some anxiety afterwards. So don't tell your father. So, of course, I come home next time from college, Ma says something's troubling you. What is it? And I said, oh, you don't want to know. And then I came up with some BS that wasn't true. And finally he says, no, tell me the truth. I'm your dad. And I told him. And the first thing he says to me, I'll kick your ass. And he wouldn't talk to me for a little while. But people grow. And years later, here I was, we were looking for a book on gay spirituality for a friend, and he was helping me. And he gave beautiful blessing at my wedding to my husband. And so people do evolve,
And so, since we're talking about your gay life, so at what point did you meet somebody to get married to, and when did that take place?
Well, I'd had a boyfriend shortly after I came out, and one of my many husbands, I like to joke, not really. But I'm with my current husband, my partner of just about 21 years. We met 21 years ago, and we knew that we were destined to be together. So, yeah.
And where were you married?
Here, Aptos Village Park.
Okay. When you talked to, so your dad was here as part of that?
Yeah, he came.
Okay, that's what I wondered. Nice.
We had started to plan a wedding, and my husband's mother died, so we put it on hold. And we started to plan a wedding again, and my mother died. So I put it on hold for a year for mourning. And we started planning a wedding again, and his father died.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
My father says, no more planning weddings.
Just have it?
Do it, exactly. And he was here to be here for that
that's
celebration.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's it's great when you can witness transformation in, acceptance or whatever term you want to use overall. So
Yes.
yeah. So let's move into your, who you currently serve and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I just have one little question. So, your current husband, is he your beshert? And can you tell the audience about that, if that's true, and
that's so
the
sweet.
meaning of that word? Is he your
Yes,
beshert?
He sure is. Beshert is a Yiddish word that's sort of meant to be. And so sometimes it gets applied to a partner that you find, and then you just know you were meant to be together. Not everybody has that experience or that good fortune. I definitely did. And still do. And I just knew it was for life. It was a lifer. And we kind of knew that from date one, actually, although I made no rush of plans from date one. But that was nearly 21 years ago.
Wow, beautiful. So can you talk a little about your call to be a rabbi and how that intersected with your queer life? Sure.
I found myself increasingly drawn back to my Jewish roots I never left it, but as far as for my spirituality. I was serving as a public defender, but I kept finding that I wanted to be around, spiritual events more, and I went to retreats and so forth. But while I was in law school, I kept feeling that yearning even back then. And you didn't have time to study. And I was studying for the bar, and I didn't have time to do anything outside of that. And I met a young man who was really into Taoism, and we just started exploring that together while we were studying for the bar exam. And then one day I stumbled on a book about the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. And that really opened a window to me of possibilities that I didn't know existed. And then shortly after that, I found who would become my teacher. And I say, while the mysticism opened the window, he opened the door, and my life was never the same. He was one of those people who was able to, his name was Reb Zalman, may he rest in peace, who was able to bridge worlds. He could see computer paradigms and metaphors and classical music and bridge the world of Eastern Europe before and the place to which we're heading now. And he's just one of those brilliant people who could make those connections. And it just wowed me. And I go, okay, I really want to study with him. And he founded what is known as the branch of Judaism called Jewish Renewal. Most people have not heard of it. People have heard of Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. They might have heard of Reconstructionists. But Renewal, it comes out of Hasidic traditional Orthodox roots, but in his quest for truth, he felt like truth was found everywhere, including the other branches, including other traditions. And he used to say the only way we're going to get it together is together. Mm-hmm. So we must learn from each other, and I want my Buddhist and Christian and Muslim friends, etc., to be the best Buddhists and Christians and Muslims they can be, just as I want my Jewish friends to be the best Jews they can be. And that's sort of his philosophy as we enter a new paradigm that really needs us to be the best spiritual beings we can be.
Well said. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you share a little bit about your organization and how your shul has ongoing outreach to support LGBTQ plus people? And maybe, did you already explain what a shul was? I can't remember.
I probably did not. Shul is a Yiddish word for a synagogue, which is what we would call, we don't usually use the word church. We don't. But synagogue is what it's usually called. Sometimes some of the larger ones, particularly in the Reform movement, use the term temple. Shul is a Yiddish term. It actually comes from the German word for a school, because much of what we do there is study and learn, not so much study, but learn together, as well as prayer and gather congregationally. Our particular community is wonderful. It was always a non-issue in the positive sense that I was gay. In fact, I shouldn't call it a non-issue. It was a plus. Some of the folks really wanted me to be a role model for the kids, and everybody in our circles has someone in their family or amongst their friends who is gay. So it was a good thing, but also because I bring to it my queer experience, right? And my interests and knowledge that bridges those worlds. And so I just want to say we are involved in Out in Our Faith, which we were talking about prior to the show a little bit earlier. It's a collection of faith leaders and communities that are supportive of LGBTQ locally. And we're involved in Pride. People have seen me many a time as a rainbow unicorn or something ridiculous. And our sign is an aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, symbolizing oneness, surrounded by a little rainbow circle. So I think it's obvious to anyone who wants to see that we're open and accepting and affirming, as they say in another tradition. But where it sometimes comes up is in the day-to-day prayer and study. So, for example, in Jewish understanding, while the Hebrew is a very gendered language, much like Spanish, the God concept, God understanding, is a transcendence of masculine and feminine, even in traditional Jewish understanding, which means that the masculine and feminine is in all of us. That is huge, and it's really important for people to know that. The other thing is that our sort of paradigmatic story is the Exodus from Egypt. Most of our holidays draw on that. Well, Egypt in Hebrew, and I think in Arabic too, comes from word for narrow, because you live along the narrow bands next to the Nile out in the desert. So literally, Exodus from Egypt in Hebrew is exiting the narrow place, which as a gay man, as a gay person, queer person, you can't not capture that image of exiting the closet, as it were, the place of constriction and narrowness. And also there's a birth metaphor, right? New birth, as we enter new possibilities. So those kinds of things do come up for us in our regular study, in our regular prayer, and yet it's not the only focus. My congregation is not a gay congregation per se. We have a little of everybody there, which is, if you're looking for only a gay congregation, we're not the ones. But if you want a gay rabbi and other queer folks and straight folks and a bubby who might have had a lesbian experience and friends who might be non-binary, we got a little of everybody there. So.
And then in the Jewish tradition, is that true across all Jewish
branches or denominations? Yeah.
And if so, when did that start? Or
Sure.
did it not start?
No, that's
or
really
was
an
it always
important
from
question.
The beginning?
The liberal branches have been accepting of queer folk for quite a while. It wasn't always the case, obviously, definitely not. And the Reform movement especially made great strides quite a number of decades ago. Where it stands today, as all the liberal branches are pretty embracing and affirming, the Orthodox world, they're not monolithic. There's modern Orthodox, there's Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox, etc. And I think there's a tougher time for people in those worlds, although there's movement happening there too. These teachings, as you might expect, they come through my filter, but they're not my own inventions. They come out of the tradition itself. But that's the way I'm going to see it, as opposed to perhaps the way someone from a more we don't really have fundamentalists per se, but someone from a more fundamentalist perspective would obviously see it very, very different. But all the liberal branches are very, very embracing these days.
And then is there like a lead? So I'm Catholic, so I've got this picture of priests and bishops and that sort of thing. In the Jewish religion, is there a broader organization that makes these kinds of decisions, or is it more? Does it more happen at the local level and then works its way up, or Is there a top-down, or is it community? I'm trying to understand how those
Yes.
decisions were made.
We're trying to understand it too.
Okay, so that's just part of being
it's a yes
Jewish.
and,
okay,
yeah.
great.
There are, each of the branches of Judaism have organizations, rabbinic organizations and congregational organizations that do make a lot of these decisions.
Okay,
And
organizations as well.
Yes,
Okay.
and a lot of the branches, what makes the distinctions oftentimes is what their relationship is to traditional Jewish law and customs.
Got it.
And so that's where a lot of the tension and differences come from. But on the other hand, a lot of times it is from, bottom up, as it were, because one of our teachers said that Jewish law is determined ultimately by a consensus of the committed. Who shows up?
Consensus of the committed.
Yeah. Whoever shows up is going to help determine what our congregations look like. So, if you come into it with a progressive and open attitude, that's what the congregation is going to look like.
That's very democratic, like when you go to vote. If you go to vote, then your vote counts.
Yes, that's
so,
right.
So show up. Well, I just want to have one
But
more
wait,
comment.
before you leave that, do people in the Jewish community vote in some way?
Vote for
For
these
any
kinds
part
of
of
things.
these, or,
Yeah.
or whatever.
I think
and
those-
then were you hired by your community to come and work there, or how does that work?
Yeah. There was a circle, a coordinating council that later became a board that would have decided to hire what was at that time a student rabbi, which I came to. I've been with them a couple of decades also.
Okay.
So that does happen on the local level. And then
Yeah.
on those broader level, circles of rabbis, rabbinic organizations do vote on, as it were, on Jewish law.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say. But it often reflects what's been going on or percolating under, sort of in the scene.
Within your, do you call it congregation? Or
Yeah.
Congregation? Is there like a ruling council or something like that, or?
Me? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, we have a board, and obviously my voice is very influential.
Your board.
there,
Okay, great.
But we have a board to make, particularly logistical decisions around ritual and other decisions. It's very consensus.
So that gets back to the democratic part you were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I just wanted
Yeah,
to better understand that.
It is very
that-
consensus
Yeah.
ultimately. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always for example, it's a non-issue for us to have an interfaith couple involved in the synagogue, because
Right.
that's just the norm these days. That may not be the case in some of the more traditional communities, but certainly in ours it is. And I think it's pretty embracing and pretty open to possibilities. Not everything goes, like
Yeah.
in any community, but it's a pretty embracing, open community. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, was there a final question you had there?
Well, I just wanted to go back to that unicorn. You're dressed up as a unicorn sometimes, and I just wanted to remind everybody that one year Rabbi Eli brought stuffed animals of rainbow unicorns to Gay Pride and handed them out to everybody, and I still have that one.
Oh.
And I actually passed it on to my mom, and she loved it. And I said, and I apologize if I make stuff up and I quote you and misquote you, but I said, I just can say, my radical fairy gay rabbi friend, he says you can believe in anything you want, even rainbow unicorns. And she's like, touche, I'll make him a yarmulke.
That's awesome. I didn't say, and I'll just end with this. I often introduce myself in public circles as the only radical fairy rabbi this side of the Capitola Mall.
That's right.
Well, great. We look forward to hearing more about you and religion and LGBTQ plus people after the break. We'll explore more about religion and LGBTQ plus people with our next guest, Reverend Deb. But right now we're going to take a short break so you can listen to the song God Is, a single from 2018 by the Outer Banks. You're listening to the Pride Perspectives radio show on KSQD, 90.7 FM, 89.7 FM, 89.5 KSQT, 89.7 Prunedale. We serve the counties of Santa Cruz and Monterey.
Never angry, God was not against me. God was never far away. God's not disappointed. God's not keeping score, and God's not judging my mistakes. God is light. God is love. Do not fear, for God's with score, and God's not judging my mistakes. God is light, God is love. Do not fear, for God's with us. God is good, God is grace. God will never hide her face. Yes, God is. God is. God is. God is. God is light. God is love. Do not fear, for God's with us. God is good. God is grace. God will never hide her face. God is light. God is love. Do not fear, for God's with us. God is good. God is grace. God will never hide her face. I see so clearly now. God is in the mystery. God is always with me. I was lost, now I'm found. Everything I once thought, blinded by the love. And I see so clearly now. God is in the mystery. God is.
Perspectives Radio Show. I'm Rob Darrow, and I'm here with Cece Pinero and Eli Cohen from the local Jewish community. And Cece's going to introduce our next guest.
Yes, well, welcome, Reverend Deborah Johnson. I hear you're out there on the line. Thanks so much for being here. I know most people know you as Rev D or Rev Deb. Anyway, Rev D, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Anyway, I'm going to start by asking you a couple of questions here. Can you just start by introducing yourself and how you ended up in Santa Cruz, and then how you moved along from Santa Cruz but are still here, kind of thing?
Yes, well, thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. I am Reverend Deborah Johnson. Most people do call me Rev D. And I am the founder of a spiritual community in the Santa Cruz area called Inner Light Ministries. We started in '97, so we're getting kind of close to our 30-year anniversary. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Actually, spent half my life there, and pretty much the second half in the Santa Cruz area. And I came into Santa Cruz in 1990 in a prior relationship that brought me into that particular area, and it's obviously like just so incredibly beautiful. And you know, I love being there. There's no question about it.
Awesome. Can you share a little about where you grew up?
Yes. So I grew up in the Los Angeles area. I grew up in a very fundamentalist, evangelical, charismatic, Pentecostal.
Wow, those are a lot of words.
religious background. And I pretty much always knew that I was gay. I kind of popped out the womb gay. I was one of those really early pioneers on the board of the LA Gay Center in my early 20s, and have had the opportunity to do a lot of really wonderful pioneering things, including over 40 years ago now, having a lawsuit that set the precedent for the inclusion of sexual orientation as a civil rights issue. And I also was in another precedent case which protected domestic partnership in the state of California. So I've been in the trenches a long time and have had a career in diversity. And I've taken the LGBT, issues and diversity issues into many, many, many corporate environments. And although I know a lot of that's being demonized now, I'm extremely pleased of the progress that we've made as a society.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit more about those lawsuits and your role in that, and how that whole thing came about?
Yes. So, in 1983, this was actually a year before Martin Luther King's birthday was a holiday. The partner that I came into Santa Cruz with, Dr. Z, she's a chiropractor, actually recently retired chiropractor in the area. And we went to a restaurant to celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. And we were refused service.
In Los Angeles, right?
This was in Los Angeles, yes. They refused to serve us. They kept telling us it was against the law to serve us. It was a very particular area. There was a romantic section in this area where you walked up a couple of stairs and they had these 6 booths that were sheer curtains. You sat side by side and there's a fountain and apparently violins would come and play. And it was like all of this stuff that was going on. I was being treated to this because it was my first 6-month review with Prudential. I just got my MBA. I was a real estate investment manager with them, and we were both celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday, and they refused to serve us. And it was the back of the bus thing. You could eat anywhere that you want to, but you can't eat here. This is for mixed couples only. And we didn't get it. We really didn't. I was like, I'm black, she's Latina, we're mixed. What do you need? So it wound up being a really big deal. We were represented by Gloria Allred, who is very famous. She's representing like a couple of dozen of the women in the Epstein cases with Bill Cosby. She knows what she's doing.
Right.
And we went with her law firm. And it turned out to be just a real media zoo. The restaurant kept taking ads out about they would hang by their thumbs before they would serve us. And we actually lost the first couple of rounds. The judge actually went down to, the cameras were rolling, all the time. We didn't know we were the national precedent for just literally the right to be out.
Yeah.
So everybody from The Advocate to Ms. Magazine were carrying this. We finally won a unanimous opinion at the appellate court and in the state of California, and the Supreme Court refused to hear the case and to overturn it. So they certified it for publication. So it's actually in the law books, and it was this very, very big win. Now, mind you, the restaurant pulled the same thing that they pulled in the South, where they closed the booths rather than serve them. And had
and what year was this that it finally?
1984.
Okay.
And do you recall about how old the two of you were at that time?
Oh, 27.
About in your 20s. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We were young.
Yeah.
We were we were young, and we were in our 20s, and it was a really, really big win. The first time that sexual orientation was deemed to be considered a civil rights issue.
Wow. So, sort of thinking on the same lines, but thinking about more personal about your family, what was it like when you came out to your family?
Or what was it like in school, or those types of things?
Well, it was really, really rough with my family. Really, really rough. My mom was president of the Women's Christian Council. in our denomination. And to her, it was literally like a matter of life and death. But you got to put this into context in terms of the era. So this is pre, well, let me say it in reverse. The sodomy laws were still in place in the state of California. So we're talking 20 years of felony
Right.
or any kind of anything besides missionary position with heterosexually married people. The American Society, the American Psychiatric Association still had us as criminals, as sick and depraved. So you're criminal, you're sick and depraved. The church has you satanic. It was a lot. There was a lot going on there. So my parents really thought that they were fighting for my soul, and we literally fought. I mean, like every day. I had a girlfriend from the time I was a freshman in high school, and we stayed together all through my senior year in college. We're actually still really good friends now. And I was young in school. I actually finished high school at 16. So we started really fighting about this stuff around 13 years old or so. My father finally did an about face. He grew to understand somewhere like in my 40s, something like that, or late 30s, that it really wasn't a choice. He's a man of science. He's a pharmacist. And little to my knowledge, he started going to P-Flag. He never told me, but he told my partner, Z, that I moved to Santa Cruz there with. My mom finally came around. I won't say she changed her theology or anything like that, but she was really, really fond of my ex-wife, Valerie Joy, that I built Inner Light Ministries with. Valerie was a real church girl and third-generation preacher's kid. So she didn't change her theology, but the same Christianity that made her condemn me was the same Christianity, honestly, that led her to a greater embrace. They never cut me off. I gotta say that. I always knew that I was loved.
Yeah.
Never thrown out of the family or anything like that. It was just this really tough pill for them to swallow.
So you brought up Inner Light Ministries. Could you talk a little bit about your call to become a minister and how that happened, and then how you decided to start Inner Light Ministries, and how queerness and your religious call fit together and those types of things?
Well, growing up gay in the Black Pentecostal church wasn't fun.
Yeah.
By any stretch of the imagination. I was very fortunate, though, to have a pastor who was extremely big in the movement, vice president of the World Pentecostal Movement, who was not a homophobe. And although we were a mega church, and a lot of we hosted the convocations, so the international evangelicals that would come into LA would come through our church, who would host them. So I would hear a lot of this stuff from other people, but the folks in my own congregation really did love and embrace me, regardless of all the stuff that was being said. So I feel very, very grateful for that. But there was this tension. My church, that denomination, still doesn't even ordain women, let alone gay people. So I didn't necessarily feel in those early years like I wanted to be a religious person. I always had a sense of a close calling to God, but it was a struggle because I kept being told that I was this abomination, that I just couldn't believe that. But at the time, there was nothing. I mean, nothing. We're talking in the late 60s. Right. There weren't songs. I didn't know anybody. It wasn't even in the yellow pages yet.
Yeah.
We had to fight for that. So it was really lonely. It was really scary. And the truth of the matter is, I've never told this publicly, but I got the call to ministry at a convocation, a youth convocation at the New York Hilton. This was in the fall of 71. I'm a senior in high school. I'm 15 years old, and I got what they refer to as slain in the spirit. I kid you not. I did not believe in it, but it happened to me.
Tell us more about that. What does that mean?
A force hit me at my chest level and up underneath my legs, to flatten me out. I'm down on the ground and I am speaking in tongues.
Wow.
Which is something that I didn't even believe in, although I saw it all the time, and my mother did it as well. I went to what they call an altar call because my heart was so heavy about being gay, and I was like, God, what do you want? What do you want from me? How do I reconcile all of this? And then I had that experience. My next clear memory was being in the restaurant at the hotel and telling my mother that I had the call to ministry. I had decided that I would do something about it by the time I was 40. I didn't know anything alternative. I didn't know anything about universal spiritual principles and all that. I just knew that I could not preach stuff that I didn't believe.
Right.
And yet I couldn't deny this thing that was bubbling inside of me. So I did find my way. I found my way into more metaphysics and what we call the New Thought movement. And I became a lay minister and had gone to ministerial school and dropped out and finally finished. And literally, I'm finally finishing ministerial school and I start the Vision Corps for Inner Light Ministries the day before I turned 40.
Oh, you
Wow.
Literally,
You did it.
the day before I turned 40 because I felt like I had a promise that I had to keep.
What a great story. So age 18 is when you got the call, right?
15.
15. Wow. And you remembered it all the way up to age 40 and did something about it.
Well, it wasn't like I was just dormant. I had been studying. I had taken a 4-year course to become a lay minister. I had taken another course, several courses in ministerial school. I actually was almost complete with ministerial school before I dropped out for quite a number of years. But I can honestly say that I think it was the AIDS movement that really, or the AIDS epidemic,
Right.
I should say, that really became the turning point for so many people like me,
Yeah.
where it aged us. It just really aged us, and it made us have to deal with those real fundamental questions about, life and death, and to step it up, and what
Right.
does it mean to have human dignity, and to really care.
Right. Could you take a minute just to tell us about Inner Light Ministries before we take a break?
Sure. Inner Light Ministries is a very open, diverse, inclusive spiritual community. There are people there from all different kinds of traditions, including atheists. We believe in what we call universal spiritual principles, those things that cut across time and history and culture and religion. We meet in person the first Sunday of every month at the Resource Center for Nonviolence there in Santa Cruz at 3 o'clock. We're online every Sunday. We still have our food bank and do a number of different programs. For 20 years, we had a center right down the street from Temple Bethel and Cabrillo College. We sold that, and now we're kind of a hybrid of online and in person.
Great. Thanks so much, Deborah. Now, don't go away. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to listen to a song called The Queer Gospel by Aaron McEwen. You're listening to the Pride Perspectives radio show on K-Squid Radio, 90.7 FM, 89.7 FM, and 89.5 FM, and KSQT, 89.7 in Prudendale, serving the counties of Santa Cruz and Monterey. And after the break, we'll be back with more Rabbi Eli Cohen and Reverend Deborah Johnson.
We are, see us, and we're holy. shall we shall ever be holy ourselves. Your love will take us far. Praise us and we'll show you from heaven to the glory holes, glorious and free. There are those who think we're wicked. There are those who call us names. Depraved, lost and sickened, would rather bathe us in shame. We put the sin in sincere. We put the do in the doubt. God is perfectly clear. We are perfectly out. Love us as we are. See us and we're holy. In this shall we shall ever be holy ourselves. Your love will take us far. Praise us and we'll show you from heaven to the glory holes, glorious and free. I believe in the ritual of lipstick, the sanctity of electric guitar. But it's cool if you're not that Catholic. You can be wherever you are. Love us as we are. See us and we're holy. In this shall we shall ever be holy ourselves. Your love will take us far. Praise us and we'll show you from heaven to the glory holes, glorious and free. Love us as we are. See us and we're holy. In this shall we shall ever be holy ourselves. Your love will take us far. Praise us and we'll show you from heaven to the glory holes, glorious and free. According to us and was evidence, come join our jubilee. In this shall we shall ever be glorious and free.
Welcome back. Welcome back to our show. We're here at Case Quid Radio, Pride Perspectives Radio Show. I'm Cece Pinero. I'm here with my co-host Rob Darrow and Rabbi Eli Cohen and Reverend Deborah Johnson. So I'm going to ask Rabbi Eli and Rev Deb, could each of you talk about your jobs at your organization? I'm thinking some people may not know what a reverend or a rabbi does at a church or a shul. And, so we can sort of hear the difference about what you two do at your various organizations.
Sure.
You want to go ahead, Eli?
Sure. A rabbi, the word actually means a teacher. So Moses, for example, even though he was considered to be our greatest prophet, we don't call him so much the prophet Moses. We call him Moses, our teacher. And that becomes sort of the model in some way. Of course, in practice, there's prayer leading, there's pastoral work, there's interfaith work, there's setting up chairs if you don't have enough volunteers. There's all those practical, logistical things as well. But primarily, it's prayer leading, pastoral, and teaching, both adults and kids, and interfaith. Yeah.
Do you want to
Great.
talk about your services or other programs that you do on a weekly basis?
Sure. I'll do real quick on that. We meet the first 3 Fridays of the month at 7:15. We meet in a little space behind Abbey Coffee House. It's called the Native Sons. We're at 239 High Street, 7:15 on Fridays. We also meet for all 4 Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. And we have adult ed stuff going on all the time. I just started a class called Introduction to Judaism, and we have of course, social things. There's Hanukkah stuff coming up. We're having our big fundraiser at the Kumbwa with Lori Rivera. Many people in the spiritual community know her, doing the songs of Carole King. And then we're going to get together for Christmas and eat Chinese food and watch a movie. That's what Jews do on Christmas.
I love it. Now, can you give us the dates again for the concert, the fundraiser at
Sure.
the Kumbwa?
First night of Hanukkah is December the 14th, so 3 p.m. at the Kumbwa. We'll have that concert. Definitely get your tickets because it will sell out, and she's incredible. And then at 6 p.m. we'll have our Hanukkah party over at our little shul on High Street.
Great. Concerts at 3 p.m. That's my time frame. I love it.
Awesome.
Okay, Rev D, can you tell us a little bit about, what your job as a reverend is at your church?
Yes, I'd say quite similar to the things that Rabbi Eli was saying. I think that there's certain things when you are part of spiritual community that have to do with being there for people. When he keeps saying pastoral, that means really tending to people's needs, whether it's because they're sick or they have some kind of illness or marriages or funerals or, just all the different things that have to do with counseling, spiritual counseling, being there with people. Eli is also really big on social justice work. We sponsor a lot of different things. We collaborate with groups. We have a food bank that happens every Thursday. We've now teamed up where it's out of Santa Cruz Bible Church, and I want to invite you to that at noon every Thursday. We've been doing that for decades. We just push out about 15,000 pounds of food every week when we do that. Prison outreach work. I really love going inside of prisons and working with people and talking with people and just generally helping to create that beloved community. So we sponsor a lot of things that happen in Santa Cruz area, as well as partner with people around the country. And what I could say is that probably the primary job of that one who's at that spiritual leadership is to really embody it, to live it. Yes, there's duties and there's tasks, but our first responsibility is to live the principles that we espouse so that we can lead by example.
Beautiful.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. So for both of you, what policies or values exist in your respective congregations or broader rabbinical associations that are supportive of LGBTQ people? And along with that, are there specific, Old Testament or New Testament or Torah verses that you might quote that reflects that need or idea?
Well, I'm grateful to be part of the Jewish Renewal Movement, which totally integrates and sees queer folk as just integral to. How can you have a world without us? And so it's almost like a non-issue in the positive sense, but practically speaking, we're very vocal about it, and we're very, active in politically or in, supporting or even just holding a space for our kids to feel safe and to have a gay role model at shul, et cetera, et cetera. So in some ways, it's that. And then you were asking for a verse. So there could be so many. There's, being all of us made in the image of God. One that comes to mind for me is from our liturgy, which says, "My God, the life and soul which you placed within me are pure." Nobody can change that. Nobody can, even you can't change that. So that's all true. And if we can sort of tap into that, I think that may help guide us. Yeah.
I like that. We are all pure. And that's a good thing for us all to think about too, because sometimes we don't always feel that way in ourselves, depending on whatever's going on. And anyway, I appreciate that. What about you, Rev D? Same
Well,
question.
Similarly, by our very ministry and the things that we do, we're very open and warm and inclusive. So people who come, regardless of gender identity, family structures, and we're vocal about it. It isn't just an implicit thing. You'll hear us speak about it and showcase, give people the visibilities. Where I typically come from on this in terms of a scriptural perspective is in what is referred to sometimes as the two great commandments of Jesus, that you love your Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and that you love your neighbor as yourself. Most of the time, people flew into like the neighbor part, but underneath that is this notion that there is in fact self-love. And I find that that's the biggest issue that I find with people who are struggling with their relationship with the divine, however they define that to be, and their sense of their own personal identity, is just a feeling of, am I okay? And can I be okay with me? And letting them know, that's self-love. It's okay to love yourself.
Both of
And
those
out
are
of
so
that,
important.
you're able to love everybody.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I wish we had another 2 hours to continue talking, but we're almost out of time already. I just want to thank you, Reverend D and Rabbi Eli, for being here and sharing your beliefs and your religion with all of us. And we're just so thankful that you're both part of our Santa Cruz community. So thanks again for being part of our show tonight. Cece, do you got a closing quote there?
I do. I have a couple of quotes. I have a quote from Rabbi Alan Bennett from 1978. He was the first out rabbi. I hope I have that correct. And Rabbi Alan Bennett says, only to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with God. And that is from Old Testament, Micah 6:8. And my other quote is from Reverend Elder Nancy Wilson from 1972, who was a reverend at the Metropolitan Community Church, which
great.
you reminded me of before. And I think that this was one of the first Christian denominations that was founded specifically for affirmation, to affirm LGBTQ plus people. And Reverend Wilson said, I am proof that as long as your ultimate goal is to do God's will, the Lord will give you the heart to do it.
The heart, perfect. That's the common theme about loving and having the heart. So this week we've got a number of events for you to be aware of. Thursday is Transgender Day of Remembrance, November 21st, Friday at 5:30. There's a special transgender evening event at the Resource Center for Nonviolence, sponsored by the Diversity Center. November 22nd is the Painted Mandolin Concert at Kumbwa, which is a benefit for K-Squid. Find out more information about that on the K-Squid website. And then finally, December 6th is the Downtown Holiday Parade, and we look forward to Santa Cruz Pride seeing you there. Thanks again for listening in to Pride Perspectives, Conversations and Stories to celebrate the LGBTQ plus culture and history across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties.
The eagle takes the wind. The eagle takes the wind, my friend. The eagle takes the wind.
This is KSQD Santa Cruz 90.7 FM, KSQT Prunedale 89.7 and 89.5 FM,